People want a national title playoff race, but we're getting it every single week in the Big 12 South, and that continues this weekend with Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. Hey, how are you, folks? Jason Horowitz, glad to be with you on the College Football Previews presented by AT&T. Let's bring in Spencer Tillman to break it down. And Spence, when you talk about this game and you talk about Texas Tech last week coming off one of the biggest games in school, the biggest game in school history, one of the best games that we have seen in a long time, how much of a factor does it play that they have to get up emotionally again for another top 10 team?
Well, for Texas Tech, I mean, this is an important benchmark for them. I mean, we saw Texas almost navigate that gauntlet, doing something that had only been duplicated one other time back in 1943 by Notre Dame, and that is to face 4 teams ranked in the top 12 and come away victorious, and just came up 1 game short. This is going to test the mettle emotionally and physically for this Texas Tech ball club. And again, I think their style of play on offense, the fact that they spread folks out and their offensive line doesn't have to get too physical because they're usually in a lot of pass protection type schemes. They're not as banged up as some teams that would commit themselves to the run. So, Jason, I think they are a little bit fresher than maybe teams who are more conventional in their approach offensively would be. So I don't think it's going to be that much of a drain, at least from Texas Tech's standpoint. You
said Texas was 1 win away from running that gauntlet. They were 1 second away. That's when Michael Crabtree scored the game winner. Spence, with the offenses that we're going to see Saturday night and the numbers that these two teams have put up, what do you expect for the encore from last weekend?
Well, you pretty much expect Texas Tech to do what they do. They're going to throw the ball between 67 and 74 times, and if they can get it to Michael Crabtree with 1 second left on the clock, they're definitely going to do that. Not going to shy away from that opportunity. But the mad scientist, at the end of the day, is not going to change much. I think what we look for is the defensive play of Texas Tech. Again, they don't get much credit in a pass-happy conference with outstanding quarterback, circus-like numbers being put up by those quarterbacks. They don't get a lot of credit for being able to shut down the run. But against this Oklahoma State team, they're going to have to do that because Oklahoma State has balance at a level that no other team, in my opinion, in this Big 12 conference has. So watch early for this contest to see how this defense for Texas Tech is able to slow down the run game for OSU.
And that's going to be huge because the way to keep Texas Tech off the scoreboard is to keep the offense off the field. And Kendall Hunter has done that this year for Oklahoma State time and time again. He showed it when they ran against Texas.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, that's what makes them so dangerous. And again, gets back to balance. And balance is constituted or created differently for different teams. Some teams, if you can get 120 yards rushing and then maybe 300 yards passing, that's your balance. But for this Oklahoma State team, you can go back and check the numbers over the last 2 or 3 years, they are just strangely so close to about 200 to 250 running and passing. And that is a nightmare for a defensive coordinator, particularly if they're able to keep you off balance with favorable down and distance situations. 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. The playbook is completely open for them, and there's no way you can predict with any measure of confidence exactly what they're going to do. So it makes them really, really difficult to defend, Jason.
Spence, Graham Harrell last week put his stamp on saying, I'm the Heisman frontrunner right now with his 474-yard performance. But Michael Crabtree's the guy who caught that last-second touchdown. If you had to pick one right now, who would you say is the front runner between those two?
Well, listen, Michael Crabtree is really at the disposal of his quarterback, and just by virtue of being a receiver, is not going to have as many opportunities as the quarterback. He's touching the ball every time. So I think Graham Harrell's excellence is he comes into this year, maybe about 3 weeks ago, he eclipsed the 13,000-yard passing mark for his career. That is phenomenal. He's been doing it week in and week out. And so Michael Crabtree's success is really contingent upon his success. So again, by default, if you will, I've got to go with Graham Harrell because, as a matter of fact, this week I have them 1 and 2 in my Heisman run. I've got Graham first, and then I've got Michael Crabtree, and then Tim Tebow is sneaking in on the back end. So that's the way it looks this year for me. And Colt McCoy is no fault of his own. Unfortunately, it's just one of those situations where if you get beat in the eyes of most people, they take a knee-jerk reaction and they slip you down. But he's right there neck and neck with Tebow.
Especially at the quarterback position. And maybe the guy that we'll see running up there in the top 5 next year is Dez Bryant, the wide receiver for Oklahoma State.
That's right.
He's going to be phenomenal, and he's on display this weekend, too, with 15 touchdowns. Spence, Oklahoma State has not won in Lubbock the last 11 times. That dates back to 1944. Do they win and knock off Texas Tech from the ranks of the unbeaten?
Jason, my friend, it gets back to that old proverbial question I always ask. We asked it of Rutgers last year. How well do they run with a full cup of success? We don't know quite yet, but I can tell you this. By virtue of the fact that they're in that number 2 spot, this has been a referendum on not just their coach, but their offense as well and their quarterback. This is not a gadget system. It works, it's real, it's productive. Whether or not it's going to be enough to get a win, I'm not sure. But I'm betting with Texas Tech today. I think they reverse the tide and come away with a victory Saturday.
All right, we'll see how it all plays out Saturday night. Spencer Tillman, thank you very much, sir.
All right, Jason, we'll see you.
And folks, don't forget that Saturday night, but Saturday afternoon on CBS, you can see Alabama at LSU. Nick Saban's return trip to Death Valley and Baton Rouge. And, of course, it is the SEC Live. Whatever you see on CBS, you see on CBSSports.com. It's the game of the week, Alabama-LSU, presented by AT&T on SEC Live. For Spencer Tillman, I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care, folks.